To the AP U.S. History Roundtable. My name is Bill Tinkler. I work for the College Board with leadership responsibilities for AP U.S. History. And the subtopic for this roundtable is the 2009 exam, Teaching Social History and Future Directions. And I'm probably going to take, we're going to probably take this in reverse order. I'm going to start off by talking about some of the future directions of the course. Some of you may have heard that we're undergoing a course and exam review for all three AP History courses, and AP World History is scheduled to have a launch date of 2012. We have not yet announced the launch date for the exam change in U.S. History, but that's coming. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the proposed changes in the course. How many AP History teachers do we have out in the audience? It's quite a few. Good. Following my short discussion, we're going to have Ernie Freeberg from the History Department of the University of Tennessee talk a little bit more specifically about the social history applications in the course. And then Ted Dixon from Providence Day School in Charlotte, North Carolina, will continue with some very specific examples of how to implement social history and teach specific historical thinking skills in the classroom. And finally, Uma Venkateswaran from the Educational Testing Service in Princeton, New Jersey, is going to round out the presentation with a discussion of the document-based question from the 2002 exam and its relevance to social history. So let me start off by saying that our objectives this afternoon is to help explain and clarify the rationale for creating a common set of historical thinking skills for all three AP History courses, modeling for you how to use a concept and skills integrated approach to demonstrate how to teach U.S. history topics in depth. As you all know, the biggest issue facing us in the classroom today is depth versus breadth. We're trying to work on that so that we give you the flexibility as teachers to go into more depth while not sacrificing students to the whims of the College Board and the questions we ask on the exam. Thirdly, we want to discuss specific strategies for integrating historical content with specific historical thinking skills within existing proposed course guidelines, and I'll be talking about some of these skills in a moment. And finally, we're going to allow you to be the commentators out there, so we'll be expecting questions at the end of the presentation, and of course, anything connected with the College Board, we always have our goldenrod evaluation sheet. So if you did not get one of these evaluation forms, if you'll raise your hand, I'm sure we'll be glad to give you one, and I'd appreciate it if you could fill that out before you leave the session. So without more ado, let me talk a little bit about the new U.S. History curriculum framework. There's going to be four key areas that are undergoing change from the existing AP course. One is in the area of chronology. We call it periodization. We're going to have 9 periods in the new curriculum framework. Some of them overlap, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Second area is conceptualization. There will be 27 key concepts that will be required for AP U.S. History teachers to teach during the course. And we're focusing on these key concepts, again, to provide you, the teachers, flexibility in order to provide the details and enrichment that students can use in that process. As I said earlier, we have a collection of historical thinking skills, 9 skill components to be exact, that are going to be shared in common with European history, world history, and U.S. history. And we did this very decidedly because we wanted students to be able to carry these skills with them from one course to the other and not having to learn a new protocol or a new way of articulating these skills. We did a lot of research on this and came up with these skills as a way of helping students think deeply about conceptual matters and integrating the skills with the content. And finally, there will be 7 course themes. For those who like to teach thematically, you will have a clearer organizational strategy for doing that. So those are the 4 areas of major change scheduled with the U.S. History course. And again, why change? You know, it seems like it's been working well for years. But the new framework is structured around key concepts, themes, and skills in order to provide teachers more flexibility to address the breadth of content coverage, to increase student capacity to reason in a deeper and more systematic way, to respond to current historical scholarship. Higher ed has been asking us for several years now that we need to be addressing other topics and even other eras in U.S. history. And finally, to encourage historiography, as I like to call it, the doing of history rather than simply memorizing it. Here you have a slide that it may be kind of difficult to see off the top of your head, but if you think of it in two parts, almost two columns. The one on the right is showing the current course periodization and weighting of those periods, and on the left is the new conception for periodization with the new weighting that we have proposed. And the yellow highlights is meant to show you, where some of this weighting changed specifically, as you can see in the 19th century. But you can see how the weighting, and you're probably looking at this, and if you're really sharp, you're going to notice something. You're going to say, wait a minute, 1491 to 1607 and 1980 to the present, periods 1 and 9, you're telling us that we're supposed to have more flexibility now, but you're increasing the scope of time that we have to teach. How is that helping us? I just wanted to point that out right up front, because that is true, it is accurate, but we are also going to try to show you how you can do that in 140 days. And that's the framework. You may have more than 140 days of class time to teach, but those are the time frames that we were using in order to try to demonstrate how this model would work. The current AP History course does have references to periods. It does have a structure, obviously, with 28 chronological topics. It does reference historical thinking skills. What the new curriculum framework does is give a much more specific reference to each of these with a rationale. So, for example, as I said before, the new framework covers pre-European contact, which we represent with the symbolic date of 1491.